Ta-da! Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Men's Radio. And it's me all by myself today. So, hello. Russ is doing his first celebrant gig today, and we wish him well. Saw a message on Facebook this morning, and he was having a wonderful train journey down and thoroughly enjoying every moment of it. Not. Which did amuse me in the early hours of this morning. But here we are at midday, Monday lunchtime. How was your weekend? I hope everyone's good. Let's do. I've got a fascinating guest for you today. I cannot wait to talk to our guest. I'm going to bring her on really, really soon. We'll just do some hellos first of all. RVB, how are you, Rob? Are you feeling better? Are you feeling better? I do hope so. Been following you on Facebook and looks like you're on the mend, but please keep me updated. Any more hellos to do before we get our guest on? I'm so excited to get her on. I just want to get her on. Any more comments? Any more hellos? Oh, we're all quiet this morning. Okay, that's fine. I can deal with that. Should we get our guest on then? She's an amazing lady. We're going to talk a lot about her new book today, but there's hidden depth to this one, as will be revealed later on the show. Chatted to Russ the other day. Good. Has he been in touch, RVB? Yeah, well, you keep getting well, and maybe there'll be something in the show today which will help you. You never know. But let's get to our guest on. Ladies and gentlemen, go wild, go crazy. Beverly Densham. Hello.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me.
I really wanted to get you on as soon as possible because you are one fascinating lady. Quick good afternoon to Asa Don Brown. Just to make the introductions, Asa Don Brown is a regular listener to the show, and he's very big in the psychiatric community in the USA and Canada. So we have the best listeners. You're looking very sparkly today, Beverly, I have to say.
I know. I thought I'd make an effort at coming on the radio.
I know, it's weird times where you have to dress up to go on the radio, isn't it? It's radio with pictures. This isn't right.
I know.
Right? Now, we've got a whole hour and I really want to explore some fascinating topics with you, but I met you a while ago through my co-presenter at Radio Jackie, Nikki Patrick, right? And I know since she's been taking a sabbatical from Jackie, you've been hanging out a bit as well. I've been stalking on Facebook in the nicest possible way. So that's how I met you, and you've written, well, you're quite an accomplished author nowadays, aren't you? Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, currently on to author of. I'm trying to count now because we're actually currently writing a series of books. So 2 books have been published so far, and the 3rd book will be published with my co-author in this month, actually, 28th of November. So the first 2 are completely different to the latest books. The first 2 were all about angels and spirituality, and my last book was I Talk to Angels. And then the current books, it's a whole series, 3 in the pipeline so far. So the next one is actually Stress to Calm in 7 Minutes for Lawyers. It's all about helping with stress management, better well-being and mental health for both individuals and, of course, at work as well.
So there is a whole series, stress management for lawyers, stress management for, I don't know, nurses. Is that how the series works?
Yes, so it's next year. There's going to be one for teachers and schools. So Stress to Calm in 7 Minutes for teachers. So that'd be really great for teachers and schools and the whole team, of course. And then the one after that will be for nurses and etc. They're the next concrete ones which you've been busy writing.
Well, I don't think there's one area of work in the world that couldn't do without stress management for ...
Yes,
so
exactly.
I think you're going to be quite busy. I think it's fair to say you got your work cut out for you, but in the best possible way. It'll keep you busy. Why did you start with lawyers, out of interest?
Yeah, well, what happened was, so I've been teaching mindfulness Pilates for over 25 years. I started off, and before that, I did a degree in sports science from University of Brighton, but what happened was last year actually, it wasn't a planned thing. It was one of those things where a lawyer asked me to help them with their stress levels. And so I started teaching them to help them and teach them practical tools that they could use both at home and work. And what happened was, at that point, I realized I could take the Pilates exercise out of it and I could start also teaching their whole team. So I then started teaching Anna Illingworth's whole team. I can say her name because she's actually writing the foreword to the book now. She has written the foreword to the book, actually. Which was a really amazing thing, and developed 7 1-minute tools which help reduce stress. But that you can actually use for 1 minute at a time, or 2 minutes, or 7 minutes if you want to really go to town and spend more time on it. And I ended up teaching classes and workshops at the desk on Zoom, actually.
Wow. I mean, because it's these professions, the ones you've mentioned, and many others, burnout is such a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, burnout. I mean, there's a lot going on with burnout. I mean, I'm also helping more and more people who are suffering from different forms of burnout. It might be chronic fatigue or ME diagnosis, or all of that sort of thing. And there's a lot going on with how many people are going to the doctor because of stress. The World Health Organization sort of statistics are 75 to 90% of people going to the GP. It's stress related, actually. And there's, a lot of adverse sort of effects going on in relation to stress. And as for what's happening in the workplace as well, just generally, it's costing a lot of money. But, a lot of people are being off sick, they're absent from work because of stress. There's lower productivity, lots of different things.
I think the good thing is a lot of employers are waking up and realizing that a workforce who is experiencing happiness and well-being is a productive and much more prosperous workforce. I think hopefully we're coming out of this era where it seemed like a good idea that if you're working yourself to the bone, the way to get out of that is to work even harder so you get more done. And that's a real false economy. And what I was going to ask you was, I mean, it's so I lost my train of thought there for a second. I had a brilliant question line up. God, I hate it when that happens. It's yes, that's it. What is causing this epidemic of low energy and burnout and stress? If you had to put it down to some things, increased workload, too many responsibilities. Why now?
There are many different factors. I mean, it can be the number of working hours. It can be the nature of the profession. I mean, we did surveys for each of the professions we're writing books for so far. And for example, some people are leaving their profession. For example, family lawyers, sometimes they're leaving the profession because they're moving on to a different profession because they find it too tough with what they're dealing with. It's affecting them. It's affecting them too much. Some of the family law sort of cases that the families that they're looking after.
Because it's not pretty, a lot of this stuff they're dealing with, is it? And I know what you mean, because I had a colleague at work on the radio that got quite affected by reading the news. It was only for 3 minutes every hour, but the content, the stuff you can imagine, the stuff that she was reading is headlines of all the worst stuff that's happening in the world today. And that quite affected her. You were saying, sorry, so it's not a pretty thing. So it's what they're dealing with. That's one thing.
That's one thing. Sometimes it's the working hours. I mean, there's a natural amount of stress in different professions, but, there are, just in life in general, there are good, challenging, sad times of life. So sometimes there's bereavement or other natural things, or somebody's going through divorce or a traumatic divorce themselves, or there are many factors. Of course, there can be illness and all sorts of other things as well. But just within the workplace, I mean, for example, a nurse might be on a month of night shifts, a month of day shifts. They're not even able to, say, for example, get out of the hospital for a walk on a break because they've only got, say, half an hour, and they've got to eat in that time, and they might not even get the whole half an hour, and there's beeping, and there's still emergencies coming in, and depending on where they are, it's a lot. It's not always easy to. There's a lot of different levels of pressure in different working roles.
Yeah,
and so I think if they just have practical things to help them, which is obviously where sort of we come in, that can
absolutely.
be really
I
helpful just on a day-to-day basis. But
I want to hear loads more about that in a minute. We'll talk about some of these tools, if that's okay, because I think we can all benefit from this. But I mean, the way you described it, just the way you described nursing there, I'm surprised that they're as sane as they are.
Oh wow! I mean, I taught one a nurse earlier in the year, 1-to-1 actually, and wow! I mean, the hours they're working, and this particular nurse has been in the job over 25 years, and she's still, month on night shifts, month on day shifts, and They are
We're going
long
to
hours.
give you long hours. We're going to make you work odd times of day or night so your sleeping patterns are out.
So
We
the
give you
the
15 minutes
sleeping
if
thing
you're
can be
lucky
an
to
issue
shove a
too.
sandwich down you in a canteen. Working with ill people who could be grumpy and rude. Managing with relatives.
Relatives is quite a big factor as well. They have shared
Yeah.
with us that relatives, you know, because there's some very difficult situations, and so they haven't just got the patient to deal with, they have also got the relatives to deal with as well, and they have a certain workload, and they've got to have, you know, high concentration, you know. So
Absolutely.
there's a
I
lot
read
to
somewhere the
deal
other
with.
day, actually, quite coincidentally, just a couple of days ago, I was listening to a podcast, and it was talking about professionals, and another thing they suffered from, and I hadn't really thought about this before, was perfectionism, because they've got such high standards demanded of them. It's take a nurse, for example. There's got to be, you know, there's a tolerance of what, 0.01%. You know, it's got to be pretty much 100%. And to keep up those high standards in any area of life, professionally or personally, is really hard going. And I think this guy was the nature of this podcast. The guy was kind of inferring that people are drawn to this because of something they grew up with, blah blah blah. So they would naturally go into this pattern where they meet that in life, if you know what I mean. This, which brings out their perfectionism. But it struck me that was the thing. If standards are so high and you feel you're constantly on eggshells, everyone's watching, everyone's ready to jump on you, everyone's ready to take legal action or whatever it might be. That's hard. What do you think about perfectionism in the workplace?
I don't really know particularly perfectionism, but I think there is just that there can be a pressure, but then I think you can alleviate the pressure the more self-care and the more you look after yourself. There is one nurse who said I'm allowed to say her name out loud, but she actually ended up with burnout, and she actually wrote a book about it. Her name's Anne Gerling, and she wrote a book called Journey to Chocolate, but it's about her burnout story. You know, she was passionate about her work, but she wasn't looking after herself, and she ended up so burnt out that she did actually end up leaving the profession and even writing a book about it, about her, you know, her burnout story. And
yeah,
she's
I
really
experienced
completely
burnout.
different. Oh, really? She's completely different now.
Yeah. Well, it's great that she's got a solution and a new chapter in life, if you like, and a new direction, which
she does.
often these things can spring out of that suddenly in the most unexpected way. This whole wonderful new body of work could be in the world when that person wasn't even planning for it to be. It's just the way things went, which is great. So it's good to know there are solutions, but I suppose this is where I come onto your tools, but it shouldn't have to get to crisis point.
No, this is the point.
Should
you
it?
see, no, you don't.
This should be addressed way earlier down the line, shouldn't it?
100%. You know, at the end of the day, you need to bring in preventative tools, and you know, I teach several. I have to say, my mindfulness Pilates teaching on Zoom with my classes, I teach many. Sounds quite bad, really. Many former nurses who are now happy and have different careers. However, in an ideal world, you want everyone to stay in these amazing professions, because of course the world does need the nurses. It also needs the teachers, and so yeah,
it's an irony that the people that we need the most, we put the most pressure on, pay them the least money, and show them the least gratitude, apart from banging pots and pans in lockdown. That was pretty much it. It's a strange, when you really stop and think about it, it's a strange old world, really, isn't it?
I think it's very important that everyone at work gets even more support, and not just, I've noticed with companies, many companies are very good. Some professions, you know, and companies are very good. They offer more than a bowl of fruit. So they might be offering, for example, confidential counselling. They might have mental health first aiders in, which is brilliant. And I think companies like that, you know, absolutely fantastic. But there are kind of if a company only does a workshop and ticks a box, you know, a one-off workshop isn't going, you know, sort of stress to calm workshop. It's not gonna inbuilt those, that's not very good English, but something inbuilt those
I know what you mean.
the practice and the tools. You need some regularity.
I know
well.
exactly what you mean. I mean, I guess what's needed is a whole shake up of the whole system and rebuilding it properly with these things in place, which they should have been all along. But until that happy day, wonderful people like you and others are coming along with tools which can help stop it reaching crisis point. And of course, nipping these things in the bud is perfect. Would you like to share some of said tools?
Yeah, of course. So
stress to calm in 7 minutes. That's quite a headline. That's quite a claim. So let's hear it. I believe you. I'm just fascinated to know more about it.
It's been a really interesting one since I've been teaching. I mean, I've been teaching all this time, but since I've been teaching just these tools as well, because I did the sports science, and you have to study statistics in it, and you have to do a lot of research, and obviously science, because it's a science degree. We've sort of delved into the science and benefits behind each of these tools, as well as you just got to do them. And then with the statistics, every time I've worked with somebody or a company or a team, from 1-to-1 to 3 to over 200 in a company, for example, I've just analysed how they did in it. So and typically I got a 40 to 75% reduction in people's stress levels. So I will tell you about the tools now, I promise. So the first one is breathing.
Before you do, let's just stop and let that sink in. A 40 to 70% reduction, and this is in minutes, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's in a 45-minute workshop or a 30-minute class with me.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So
or me using the tools myself.
Right. Okay. Now I just want to pause and let that sink in for the people listening, because we've gone through this phase, and I think we're coming out the other end of it now, of a pill for every ill kind of thing. And it takes years to research the pills, let's say for stress, or, years to bring them to market. And then they might only have a bit of an effect, like antidepressants, they were touted as the miracle drug, but they're not. They're no more than jump leads, really, in my opinion. But without any drugs, and the other thing that people think is, by the way, that change has to be painful and take a long time. Okay. Now, I do know from my experience with NLP that that's not necessarily true, but a lot of people believe it's true. And that's why I say with tongue in cheek, oh, it's a big, bold claim, but I don't really think it is. I think it's perfectly plausible based on stuff that I've seen in the past, and reading books by people like yourself. But for the benefit of those listening, we've touched on this on the show quite a lot before. Change doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to take a long time. And when you think about it, if without drugs, okay, you can affect a 40 to 70% change in an hour or less, that's massive. Imagine a drug that would do that.
That's how it's been going so far with everybody I've worked with, and also for myself as well. I've really noticed it as well.
So don't underestimate the power of this stuff, folks. Just because it's so-called soft skills or something, or whatever possibly disparaging term people might put to it. I hope they wouldn't, but I don't know. Some people just find it a bit too good to be true, and I can understand why they would think that. But I really want to get the message home. It's not. It really is possible. It's happening. Here it is, right in front of you, as you sit in front of your computer today. Here it is. So over to you, Bev. Let's hear all about it.
So what's really important with all these tools, which I'll mention each one individually, and we can expand on any ones that you'd like to, or talk about any of a bit of research on any of them as well, it's like brushing your teeth, though. To keep your teeth clean, you have to keep brushing your teeth, and to keep them healthy, etc. And minty breath and things, it's the same with these tools. You don't used to use them once. It's one of those things, it's the regularity that's going to make the difference. So the first one is the breathing, relaxation, meditation. The great thing is, it's even recommended by, doctors, NHS these days, for physical and mental health, actually, to do this. It's not a way out there word anymore, but you can just literally do it for 1 minute. To start with,
literally just a minute, breathing and relaxing.
You can do it sitting, standing, lying down. Close your eyes and just simply take 10 relaxing breaths in and out, in through your nose.
I mean, isn't it fascinating? It's another one of those crazy world things that we've been breathing ever since we took our first breath on this planet, and we will continue to do so until our last
That's
breath.
right.
And yet so many people don't know how to do it properly, and they've never really thought about it.
Yeah, and there's
Right.
a lot of different ways to breathe. I mean, with Pilates exercise, that's a different form of breathing, which we do touch on a little bit in the book, but not in depth. That's more about core stability, and there's a reason you breathe like this. But just for a de-stress, you can just relax your tummy muscles, breathe into your tummy, good posture, sitting, standing, or lying down, and just take 10 calm, relaxing breaths in that. It's nice if you add an affirmation in as well. That's kind of the second tip, is how to use positive affirmations, because that can have a really good effect on your well-being and mental health as well.
Such
as, which one shall I choose for you today?
So many.
There are quite a few. We just give a variety. Okay, so
I'll tell you my favorite affirmation. I'm a multimillionaire and a magnet to the opposite sex. That's my affirmation.
Okay, well that's great. That's a great one for you. So the one I'm going to pick, the one I'm going to pick today is I am energetic. I radiate positive energy wherever I go. Now that doesn't mean, so what you can do with that, you may or may not feel energetic today. You can also use like positive affirmation card decks and things. That's another way of picking. Anyway, I've just picked you that one today. You may or may not feel like that, but there's different ways you can then use an affirmation. You can think about what it means to you. You can talk with somebody else about what it means to you. You can also, another one of the tools is to journal, which I'll talk a bit more about in a minute. You can also journal for 1 minute, set an alarm, ideally with good posture, and write down what that actually means to you today. And that's another one of the tips actually, is 1 minute journaling.
Hang on, what that means to you today?
Right now, at this very moment, and you just literally empty out and write down what that means to you. And you can get a lot of, it's really good if you can take things out of your mind and onto paper. A lot of doctors are also recommending journaling now. There's quite a lot of research behind the benefits for it, for emotional and well-being, mental health as well, which we go into in more depth in the book.
Because literally you're taking it out of your mind where all that noise is and essentially putting it somewhere else, so it quiets the mind.
So there can be noise, but there may or may not be noise with it, but there may be like, actually, I've only been getting 6 hours sleep and I know I really need 8 hours sleep. Well, actually I need 9 hours sleep. And how am I? So sometimes it can be a bit of a, how can I feel more like that? What action steps am I going to take to feel more like that? Or actually, I'm having a really good day, and you're off writing some really positive things, but you're often giving your own self your own tips. And then it's quite nice over a cup of tea, another time, to reread what you've written. And
yes, I've found that useful, because I've journaled things, and sometimes I get, I suppose, almost like a download, or something really positive comes through. I'm like, oh, and then if I'm having a bad moment a couple of days later, I can look back and go, wait a minute, Neil, but you were feeling that way a moment ago. What's changed? And so for me, and what I've been learning from people, it's a question of tuning into yourself, because it always starts with us, doesn't it? In the moment, what do I need right now? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What do I need right now? And then and please tell me if I'm misunderstanding this, then you pick something that you'd like to feel, or like to feel more of in that moment today, and kind of explore it, get it on paper, what it means to you right now. So you focus on that, on energetic, radiating positive energy, rather than the lack of it, which inspired you to want it in the first place. Maybe have I got that?
Okay, there's a lot of angles to what you just said. That's kind of the gist of it. But yeah, you pick your affirmation that you want to go with, and as I said, it may or may not feel like that, but then you just empty out what it is actually meaning to you. And you may go off into negative spirals with it, but then that is also really helpful and valid, and that's helping you express yourself. So it's helping you express, what you may describe as negative and positive emotions, but you can really learn from it. It's a really solution kind of focused journaling tool.
Yes.
There can be many angles to it, but you can, I sort of teach many levels of this, and we go into sort of different levels of
No,
it
that
in
this
the
is
book as
making
well.
sense to me, because relatively recently I've been reading a lot of stuff that says it's so important to feel your feelings.
Yeah,
They
so this isn't
they
about
have to be.
negating them.
Yeah. If, put bluntly, if you negate your feelings for any reason, even a well-intended reason, like, I've got to be all big and strong for my kids, for example, but if you negate your feelings, eventually they bed down, and then it's all stores, and then eventually they come up at sometimes the most inopportune moments. But this is a way of dealing with it at the time, just to acknowledge what you feel, but not to be stuck in negativity. Just acknowledge, feel it to heal it, if you will.
Yeah,
And
that's a
then
great expression.
feel it to heal it, and then move through it, and then focus on more of what you want. But sometimes the only way out is through, by allowing yourself to feel these feelings.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, there's always a solution sort of focused approach with it, that, okay,
Perfect.
you may feel like X, Y, and Z, and it's a choice, because part of these tools, it's a choice if you want to feel happiness. And you can also, according to research and psychologists like amazing psychologists actually, like Amy Cuddy, you can actually.
Amy Cuddy with her power poses, yes.
Yes, exactly. Now there's stretching and power stretching in our book and my teaching, and that includes movement as well. That includes feeling like a runner that's just, I'm just punching my arms here. I'm pretending I'm running across a finishing line. I've won the race, and we're feeling on top of the world, and we're smiling. And what Amy Cuddy discovered, not just with the power poses to bring more happiness, confidence, success, but also with smiling. They made the participants in studies like have really very stressful tasks to do, and half of them smiled genuinely. They weren't smiling genuinely. Half of them weren't smiling, and half they put a pencil between their teeth, and which puts them into a forced, unreal smile. But it actually puts them into the smiling benefit.
I've heard about a similar.
And it makes you happier. So there's a big smiling part of our book, and going into the depths of that. And there are certain exercises which are 4-in-1, which give you 4-in-1 benefits of being calming and de-stressing, and confidence boosting, success boosting, mood boosting, which is mental health well-being boosting, and that is all in 1 minute. And I've created these unique little tools
In 1 minute?
Yes, in 1 minute. It's a happiness boosting tool which takes you through. I suppose it's a bit unusual. It can take you from a stress state to a calm state, but then taking you into a feeling like a runner winning a race.
I'm so glad you've said that. Shall I tell you why?
Why not?
A lot of people, me included, when told you've got to feel your feelings, I was worried that I would get stuck in them. Because about 3-4 years ago, really stressy time, and I blogged about it, and then Russ invited me to come on here, and here I am. But my fear was that I would get taken back to that dark place, if you like, and not be able to get out. But so the fact that you said solution focused is fantastic, because it moves you through it quickly, and then takes you out to a positive resolution within 1 minute. I mean, what's not to like? Why isn't everybody doing this?
Yeah, it's so funny. I just wrote a blog on my website, and the one question I forgot to put on, which I'm going to put on very soon, is if you were Prime Minister for the day, what one thing would you teach everyone? I would teach them my happiness exercise in 1 minute, because I often call it calm to happy in 1 minute. That's what I would teach the world, because to me,
so would I.
That to me, that is, well, I'll just stand outside Downing Street and teach a bit of calm to happy in 1 minute.
But I mean, we're laughing though, but if everyone stopped and did that, okay, let's just say the whole population, let's just say it was enshrined in law that you had to do it, and everyone did that for 1 minute a day, what a different day millions of people would have. And what if the world did that? Let's just extrapolate that. The world would be so much more calm, so much more positive, so much more friendly, so much more, we're kind of all in this together because we've got something in common. And we'll come on to metaphysics in a minute with the angels, and I'm guessing that everyone doing all that together would create some sort of wonderful group effect as well. So this is powerful stuff, folks. It really is, isn't it?
Yeah. So that one would be my favorite to, like, you know, if I could actually get in front of, I mean, I'd love to also work with all the mental health charities. I have worked with some of them already, which is great. And for the children as well. But yeah, it's very, these sorts of things, I think you have to try them, but also knowing some of the research behind, there's research and science behind every single tool, which I think, to me, as a sort of sports scientist, is very interesting. And even with things like goal setting visualization, there's goal setting visualization as well, but mainly doing it, you know, athletes do it for, you know, obviously for their sport and their performance, whether that's Tom Daley, a diver, he's mentally rehearsing and visualizing that perfect dive before diving in, you know, as an Olympic diver. But, you know, in the workplace or for individuals, it's amazing to do it for your personal life, because, you know, it helps with work-life balance. And, you know, some people, what they really want is they really want to go swimming, and they haven't been going swimming, and they're seeing themselves going swimming, and they've been so busy and whatever excuses come up, but deep down they're there in their mind swimming, and they want to go swimming, or just to go for a walk or read a book. Sometimes the goals can be very simple, but can be so helpful. Yes, some people might want to run a marathon or something, but you know, often for me,
isn't it exciting though? Isn't it exciting, Bev, that we can measure these things now? And I think, thank goodness for science, because what I've noticed is science and slightly more esoteric, if I can use that word, things, they're coming together. They weren't, and never were poles apart. Never the twain shall meet. But people were either hard science, or you've got to go meditate with monks in Tibet for 10 years before you get, you know, anything at all out of this. And now that just ain't so. And we're in an age where we can measure stuff like this. So we can measure the brain waves, and we can see the changes in the brain when people, you know, practice these exercises. And I think the science helps our cynical Western minds to take this stuff seriously, because it bloody well needs taking seriously. Look at the amount of problems and burnout and all the problems we've got going on at the moment. And yeah, on the converse of that, look how easy the solutions are in 1 minute. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a really powerful that one. And what you're saying about, I think, you know, there are lots of people that like the science behind things, and I have to say I do get excited about science as well, because I'm like,
why not? My daughter's a scientist, and I'm a geek.
Because I know that a lot of people respect that, and often there's a bit more motivation. Obviously, having a teacher like myself is motivating, but like, you know, things like, there's this one of my favorite scientists is called Dr. David Hamilton, and in one of his amazing books, I didn't bring it with me. Oh, How Your Mind Can Heal
I know of David Hamilton.
Yeah.
He used to be a guy that made drugs, didn't he? Like,
yes, he was.
Like a chemist.
He worked in pharmaceuticals, and then he got into working with the placebo effect. And in one of the studies that he quotes in his book, it's a really interesting one. It's a quick one. I won't talk too long about it, but it's called the piano study. And half the participants it kind of shows the power of visualization and the benefits behind it. So half of the participants physically played the piano, you know, for 2 hours, and the other half mentally rehearsed in their mind the piano. It's exactly the same piano notes and playing. And when they did the brain scans afterwards, they could not tell the difference who had physically practiced the piano and who had mentally rehearsed playing the piano. So it shows you that if you can add physical practice plus the mental practice, that gets somebody the best results. Equally, that can help somebody very much with recovering from burnout or preventing burnout by actually focusing on things that are going to do you good in your self-care.
Yes, absolutely. I remember, I think I met David Hamilton briefly, actually. I went to a talk,
He's
and I'm
great.
sure I met him there. He's got a book on loving yourself, hasn't he?
Yes, yeah, kindness. He's got I Heart Me. He's got kindness, and many more.
Yeah, and think about this, folks listening. This is a guy that was a hard scientist.
Yeah,
This
he really
was
was.
empirical evidence. Wasn't he making things like clever chemotherapy drugs or something like that? Have I got
I'm
that
not
right?
sure. I'm not sure exactly, which ones, but that was
It was
his
along
role
those
in
lines. It was
pharmaceutical.
hard empirical science, and now here
Yeah,
we have
that's right.
a man of hard empirical science coming out with books on loving yourself and the mind-body connection. So
Yeah.
it's time. It really, and again, that gives this stuff credibility as well, because it is, it is important. Let me just pop the name of your book on the screen.
Yeah, and my co-author. So I have a co-author. My co-author is called Janie Lee Grace. She's former
Janie Lee Grace. I know that name.
Yeah, Janie Lee Grace, former Radio 2 presenter with Steve Wright in the afternoon. She's holistic author of 6 books. One of them is Happy, Healthy, Sober, her last one. And now we are doing this all together, which is amazing. We've been friends for a long time, and our publisher is McNider and Grace. And they suggested, I went along and asked them just for one book, because I knew it was helping so much last year, so many different lawyers and law firms and companies. And I thought I really actually would like this to be a book, just one book, but they then get you to fill out this author questionnaire asking you it's quite detailed, like, who do you want to help? Why are you doing this? And they realized that actually it needed to be a series and needed to be out there.
So you went for one book and ended up with a whole series. Damn!
I know. I really went.
That must have been a really bad day for you.
I was really happy, but it would have been very difficult doing it all on my own, though. But
Yes.
having a team, working with Janie, it just makes a much richer experience. And I'm very excited to see it out in paperback.
No, it's wonderful, and I think being an author can be quite solitary as well. So working with someone, particularly someone who you get on with and a peer in the industry, is fantastic. Having that connection,
it's really nice.
I'll just confirm the name of the book. I'm going to put it on the screen.
Stress to Calm. The first one is Stress to Calm in 7 Minutes for Lawyers. That's out on the 28th of November. Paperback, Kindle, and watch this space. I've just got us a book signing pen ready to match the cover of the book.
Fantastic.
I haven't got the actual copy of the book here, but this is the cover. I'm zooming in. There you go.
Yay!
And the pen is matching.
You're ready. You're all ready for those book tours, aren't you? You're all ready for those book tours.
Yeah, it's being launched as well as in the UK. It's been launched in America as well. So if you know any American lawyers, please let us know.
Absolutely. When's it being launched?
28th of November.
28th. Sorry, you said that already. So that's pretty recent, actually. So it's good that you're on now. And you've got a big tour lined up. Where's your first book signing? Do you know?
Well, we're going to do an event with Anna's law firm. So that'll be one of them. Several Waterstones have already said yes to stocking the books because we're already kind of Waterstones authors. So hoping to do an event with Waterstones. We've been so busy writing that we haven't got the kind of events all lined up yet. But because of the pandemic happening, my first book, we're supposed to do at least a couple of book events with Waterstones, and then the pandemic happened, and then that went on a long time, didn't it? So it'd be really nice this time that we get to do something beautiful with Waterstones and any law firms that would like to work with us.
Congratulations on all your success. Congratulations and thank you for bringing work like this into the world, because it is so needed, and it's so good to know that we can move through these things quickly and there are solutions. I love the phrase solution focused, because we hear so many people going on about problems, and if you listen to, I don't know, any talk radio station, they're banging on about the problems, banging on. And I find if I listen to that kind of thing for too long, I actually start to think the whole world is going to hell in a handcart, and it lowers my mood. But to know there are solutions and easily accessible ones, and it's just a question of looking over here. Don't keep banging your head against the brick wall over there. Look over here. You know what I mean? It's
yes. Yeah, just get on with those Stress to Calm tools, and see how you feel before, see how you feel after, and it's good to check in where you're at and where you're at afterwards. I once on a few occasions suffered from panic attacks for different reasons. I was in a road traffic accident in a long time ago, but also in more recent years I did have a few of those. And I know if I have a bad day or a stressful moment, or one time I used it after, to help recover from the panic attack, and B, used the tools, and afterwards I didn't feel great, I didn't feel good, I felt okay. And when you've been feeling low and you've had a panic attack, feeling okay and optimistic afterwards is actually really good, because then you're back then, you know. And other times you can be feeling really good and calm afterwards. It will vary depending on where you are on the spectrum of how you're feeling.
But again, the principle's the same. You're moving through it fast.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because I've heard people talk about panic attacks like it's some sort of curse. Oh, I get panic attacks. It was a bit deterministic. Never before, I never heard someone say I used to get panic attacks, but now I've got a tool that moves me through them really quickly. Normally, it's I'm cursed with panic attacks. That's it for the rest of my life. And I love this new narrative that's forming. You know, talking to people like yourself. And you've got scientific backing for it as well, which is fantastic, you know, and all that sort of thing. Yeah. It's wonderful. I think Oxford University taking an interest in mindfulness, that really solidified it into a lot of people's minds, because suddenly this isn't hippy dippy stuff anymore, or meditating on a mountaintop in Tibet in loincloths for 20 years. Suddenly this is very real, very scientific and timely, you know. And I think Oxford gave that a lot of credibility, I think.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing with what you just said there is they've obviously then done brain scans on monks, you know, brains, haven't they? And my goodness, I think they've got some of the most top-notch brains out there. I mean, I haven't got a particular study to quote, but they're clearly doing really great things with their mindfulness and meditation.
Well, absolutely. I mean, but you would expect that, but that was the thing. If I understood what you said correctly there, that's the thing. People go, oh, it's very clever that we can scan the brains, but they're monks. What would we expect? It's a bit like saying, you know, David Beckham will be quite good at kicking a ball around a field, but me, that's never kicked a ball in my life, what chance do I stand? How can I even compete? But what we're learning with these new teachings, people like yourself, Paul McKenna is another one, that they're devising. Now they've learned the process of it. Now they've learned how it works, right? They're now kind of reverse engineering it, so people can hack these. I say hack, you know, hack these states within minutes. What it might take people lifetimes to achieve before. Literally, the way human beings are now, we can do it in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, right? I think there's still a massive belief. I think we've got a lot of work to do, Janie and I, with this. Is that I believe that most people have a belief that things have to take a lot longer. Yes, of course, it's good to go to an hour's class or something, or 45-minute class or half an hour, but most people think they have not got time, or they think, well, that's not going to take long, and surely I can't get that good a benefit, so then they don't bother anyway. So I think there's a
common belief. I think the common belief, what you're saying is, if it's going to be worthwhile, it's going to be long and it's going to be painful, and I don't know if I've got it in me to do that, right?
People got busy days.
Yeah, but it's a false economy, because imagine how much energy someone's carrying around, you know, with that, holding on to that belief, that energy, that whatever it is. Imagine releasing that. Imagine how much lighter. It's such a false economy to hold on to it because you haven't got time. It's almost like saying you haven't got time not to do it. However, and I really want to ram this message home today, it doesn't have to be painful, and it doesn't have to take a long time. It really doesn't. But that's exactly the common belief. It all comes out of the Freud, you know, they've got to go back and drag up the past again and again and again and again. And then if you're lucky, find out why you are the way you are, but you're still the way you are, would be, you know, but it's all changed so much now. It's accelerated exponentially. And you're at the forefront, which is fantastic. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think the thing is, there are a lot of companies who also are providing things, but a lot of people then aren't actually going. You know, we've heard this a lot in our survey. You know, with schools, with nurses, with lawyers, they may be providing things, but people aren't often going either, because they're too long, and they actually genuinely are busy parents, busy in the work. And they're just too tired to even think about going to the hour thing or whatever it might be that's being offered. So that's also a bit of a problem as well. So I think that also needs to be taken into account as well.
Very much so, and very well said. Although, having said that, most people could spare 7 minutes a day, surely.
They absolutely can spare 7 minutes a day. This is the thing. Please do 1 minute minimum or 7.
Yeah, you can even do it for 1 minute. There we go. Final offer.
That's the final offer.
Yeah, final answer. But we don't want to give you that. Well, first of all, congratulations on all of it, and do keep us updated here at MRS. It's interesting. It's a radio station about men's mental health, but 50% of the audience are women, and there is a sister station, WRS, as well for the ladies. But I think these principles that we're talking about apply equally to both genders. I really wouldn't like
100%, yeah,
women at all. I really, I think our needs are different. I certainly would acknowledge that we're not the same, but similar enough that this is pretty universal, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Now, before this, I really want to touch on this. You were talking to angels. Can we talk about this?
We can. I mean, my main career, and still is my career, is mindfulness Pilates, of course. But right. I, after different traumas and divorce and things like that, I did discover my sort of spiritual side. I was always very sporty and loved the outdoors and things like that. But I wasn't particularly, like, my favorite song was Robbie Williams, the Angels song. But at the time, I didn't think there was nothing behind it. There was no depth to that, apart from I loved the song.
It is a great song, to be fair.
It is a great song. Yeah, I love that song. However, what happened after that was I went and had an angel card reading. And this is obviously nothing to do with science. It's and it was really, it just felt like a really positive, I suppose you could even say solution-focused thing, because it's looking at healing and how you can feel better. And then I did end up with an extremely spiritual side, and I've written the 2 books, and I talked to angels, which actually did become a best-selling book. And even Dame Kelly Holmes loves angels. She wrote the foreword to my book, actually.
That is quite some accolade.
Yeah, I mean, she wrote a beautiful foreword, and we had an amazing chat together. I went to one of her talks in London, and went to her book signing, actually, and we had a really deep chat about angels, and that's why I wanted to ask her about it. But they really helped me, and I sort of developed a relationship with my own guardian angel, and ended up training as an angel therapy practitioner and different healing modalities.
I think this is beautiful. I really, really do. And I'll nail my colours to the mast now. I completely believe it. I completely believe you. And I'm not saying I believe that you believe it, or something really patronising like that. But I'm not saying I believe you believe it, but I don't really. I'm saying I do believe it. And I certainly believe that you believe it. I think it's a lovely idea. My introduction, I suppose, to this idea of angels was Doreen Virtue. I mean,
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and that is her real name, by the way, before you ask. Doreen Virtue, and she's channeled, I suppose, lots of angel messages. And I've also read other channeled works, like one I've mentioned before on this show is Conversations with God. And I don't want people thinking I'm a religious nutter. I'm not religious at all, but I do have a spiritual side. And those kind of books, what I notice about them is, number one, see if you agree with me. Number one, they're consistent. The message is stuck to always 100% of the time. It's very loving, but it never wavers. It's consistent. It's humans all over the place. Is it this? Think of a politician this way, that way, 180-degree U-turn. It might be this, it might be that. No, they're consistent 100% of the time. And 2, there's no language of judgment. They're always very loving, and they're always very wise. And a good working theory I had, it wouldn't matter really if it's angels writing them through someone or not. If they are, and that's true, that's a lovely thing. We've possibly got a much greater support system than we might give ourselves credit for. We could all probably bloody well do with that, right? And if it's not true, then the author's a pretty wise person, and it's not bad life advice. Win-win. The source doesn't matter that much. It's more applying the message, right? In my opinion.
Well, I think I think
for the skeptics amongst us.
Yeah, I think you either believe in angels or you don't believe in angels, or maybe you'll have something challenging happen, and your eyes open to that there's more out there than just us as humans, kind of thing. So yeah, I found it really supportive. It really is part of what's helped me heal through past difficult times, as well as
And that's the
obviously.
important thing. If we find it supportive and nourishing and nurturing. And one more thing I'll throw in here: messages from the books that I've quoted and angel books are completely different from what I was taught growing up with religion. I cannot separate those two more. There is a big difference between, in my world, between spirituality and religion, and they are poles apart in my opinion. And one I'm a fan of, and one I'm not. No offense to any religious people. I'm certainly only speaking for myself here. But yeah, me and religion fell out quite a while ago. But spirituality, that's a different story, a very different story, and that appeals to me. How do you do it?
And there's different ways, you know, you can use angel cards. Like I have a deck of angel cards, and the funny thing was, I thought this is really funny actually. In this deck of cards, I thought, oh, I'll just pick a card for the radio today, and I thought this is weird. I've gone and picked the non-spiritual card, which is Pilates exercise, and then I picked the love one as well. It's a love message, which is really nice today. So sending everybody love on the radio today.
So maybe the angels put that Pilates card in just to get your business a clever free plug. I mean that.
I just thought it was really weird to pick the non.
No, I love it. I love it. But that's another thing. The thing is, and that's another thing I'd like to address here. People think this stuff, and I'm speaking from my own experience here, and I'm seeing the comments coming. I'll put some on the screen in a minute. There's a mix, and yes, there's skepticism, and that's perfectly okay. We can all voice our opinion. I don't mind that. Fine. We don't mind that at all. I don't mind. I'm sure Bev doesn't mind. But for me, it's always simple and doable, practical stuff. It's not like highfalutin, you know, bells and whistles and the clouds open and a light came down and I was bathed in light. No, it's very, very normal and everyday. It's very, I almost want to use the word mundane. It's so regular, it's so normal that it can almost pass us by. Does that make sense?
It can be. It can also be profound as well. You know, it can be normal as in, okay, I'm just going to pick an angel card today and get a tip of the day kind of thing. Another time you can get a feather at a moment where you're at a real low time or a bit of a rock bottom, or you've lost, you know, loved one, or something you're saying goodbye to. Like I had in-person Pilates studios in Hertfordshire for 16 years. And it was my decision to relocate to Dorset. And once the two studios were empty and it was time to go, there was a big studio, little studio, and then you went in to the first door. But when you went into the office and the little studio, there were no windows. It sounds awful, but there were no windows in that bit. It doesn't sound too good, does it? And my mum said, look, there was only me and my mum and my son left there. And she said, look, and there was this little white feather there. And it was interesting because it's just saying to me, kind of, you're on the right path, don't look back. And so when I left, I actually did not look back because I knew I was on the right path. So occasionally you have very profound moments, and other times, you know, it's like, oh, that's nice. But, you know, I never used to believe in that either. So I don't mind any skeptics because you really wanted to talk about this today. And I was like, well, actually, this is completely opposite to most of my work. And this was a journey I went on. I still have these beautiful things available, the books and angel cards and things. But it's not my main work. And it's very different to the Stress to Calm. And a lot of people
just to make
the other, or sometimes both. And that's fine.
But just to make that clear, the main thrust of your work is what we talked about in the first half of the show, which is the stress reduction and the series of books for all the professionals that need it most. Yeah. I don't want to misrepresent you in any way. That is the main thrust.
I'm very proud of all of my work. I think this is one of my career highlights. Actually, you know, I was doing 10-star jumps to celebrate, and I know it's out there helping. But it's like I'm on a slightly different path now. I've been guided and inspired to help in a more simple, fast, stress relieving, mainstream way. And obviously I help a lot with the body and back pain and things like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating. Let's have a look at some of the comments.
Yeah.
This is back when we were talking about perfectionism. Asa Don Brown says, and it's an extremely common trait amongst physicians, lawyers of all types, as I suspected. Elizabeth Green, hello, late but early good morning. She's listening in New York, by the way. So this is the breakfast show for Elizabeth Green. So morning, Elizabeth. I hope you're okay.
Hello.
Elizabeth Green, you're not late, you're right on time, says Asa Don Brown. Oh, they're just talking to each other. Don't mind us. It's all you just want to chat you lot and some idiots video show around you. Now, Graham Pack is a bit of a comedian. The biggest stress for lawyers is billing out their hours, but he's also a cynic. And I don't blame you for thinking this way, Graham. For someone that thinks that this is a load of mumbo jumbo to talk to angels, how do you convince me otherwise? And my we don't.
No, I'm not interested in convincing anyone. I think it's something that either comes on your path or it does not come on your path. Our guardian angels are there if we want to ask for help, but we can use an angel card if we want to. It's like I didn't plan it on my path, but at a certain point it appeared on my path. And yeah, there's no convincing really. No.
It's born out of your own experience.
Yeah, you only read a book if you're inspired to, and I love it. The fact that people like Fern Cotton have a great Happy Place podcast and things like that, and are bringing different topics and different ideas to people. But you can take it or leave it. We're quite happy about that today.
Yeah. And also what I would say is all the messages I've come across in your books and in others, Doreen Virtue and people like that, they're all in alignment with mental health. Every single message is in alignment with what I would say an overview of holistic mental health. Because if it wasn't, I wouldn't go near it. This is why I fell out with religion, because I think a lot of that is not in alignment with mental health. In fact, I think it can cause mental illness. And that's my opinion, no one else's. But the spiritual messages are, and that they're very much, in alignment with good mental health, in my opinion. So, and that's really important.
Yeah, definitely.
Bev Densham, it's been lovely having you on. Thank you so much for coming on. We've been meaning to do this for a while, and I know you're friends with my co-presenter Nikki at Radio Jackie.
Oh, yeah, it's so lovely to know Nikki, and we've been plunging in the Dorset Sea together. And
I know this sounds really creepy, but I've seen pictures of you swimming. That sounds really odd, and it's not meant to.
Yeah, we've been swimming.
Nikki comes in, she goes, "Look, this is me swimming. That's the sunrise at 7 a.m," and I'm like thinking, right?
I know. I'm like. Yeah, she's helping motivate me get up earlier because I'm normally asleep at 7 a.m. until 7 a.m. But on Fridays we make it for the sunrise and plunge in that sea with a whole group here in Dorset, which is fantastic.
But that's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Swimming at sunrise. I mean, that's quite a profound thing as well, isn't it? I would have thought.
It is. It's one of my favourite things is the sea and plunging in the sea, and it does make you feel good. Yeah,
it is. Fun. It's all the Wim Hof method. I think it's all that, isn't it? Like cold water swimming, which is because Nikki tells me, she goes, "I feel so invigorated afterwards," and I know what she means. She's made me promise to come down and do it. So,
yeah, you are very welcome. You will have to give it a go.
I'll bring my mankini down. Is that a problem?
Well. Nikki's now got a lovely long sleeve swimming costume now. It's very nice. I'm going to have to get another new one.
Right, more comments. Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you, Elizabeth and Asa Don Brown. As always, a riveting conversation. And that's high praise, actually. Asa, as I say, very senior in American and Canadian psychiatry. So really appreciate that, Asa. We keep trying to get him on the show, and one day, with this man of mystery, we will get him on. But Bev Densham, you can be found. I'm just going to pop your website. Oh, it's on the screen already. pilatestofeelgood.com. And the name of the book, it's Bev Densham and Janie Lee Grace, who is a very respected radio name in my world as well. Stress to Calm in 7 minutes for lawyers, but there will be more. There's going to be lawyers. Remind me what else?
Teachers and nurses as well. Yeah.
DJs? Can you do DJs?
I'm happy for you all to use the tools. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, how to stay calm when someone's being really rude and they want their song played now. And you know it to clear the dance floor. But there you go. What can I do? That's my problem, not yours. Bev Densham, it's lovely to have had you on MRS. Thank you so much. As Asa Don Brown says, and I concur, a really, really interesting lady, a fantastic body of work out in the world now, which is fantastic, and a great conversation today as well. And good luck with everything. And keep us updated.
Thank you so much for having me, Neil.
It's been lovely. Thank you,
And
Bev.
everyone.
All the very best.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Take care. There you go. There we go. Get you the best guests. I shall leave the book name on for the last 45 seconds. But thank you very much indeed for tuning in today. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Russ, I hope the celebrancy gig went well today. And Russ will be back on Wednesday and with me, and back with Phil Dave on Friday, when we'll have a fun Friday and let you know all the fun things to watch on TV. With the Queen of TV, Chantal Ricard. She'll be here on Friday. In the meantime, have an absolutely brilliant day. Thank you so very much indeed for tuning in. I've got 18 seconds, 15 seconds. How am I going to fill this? Could tell you a quick rude joke. No, I better not. No, I won't do that one. No, not enough time now. 5 seconds. Thank you very much indeed. I'll see you on Wednesday with Russ. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Good afternoon and take care. Bye-bye.